Welcome to the Political Bridge. I'm Ada, your host. Today we're talking about a complex issue. It affects many lives and raises big questions about immigration policy. We're discussing temporary protected status, or TPS, for Haitian migrants. This status lets people from certain countries stay and work in the U.S. if their home country is unsafe. It's usually due to natural disasters or conflict. For Haiti, TPS has been in place since 2010 after a terrible earthquake. It has been renewed many times since then. But it's always temporary. The current president has the power to decide if it continues. This decision impacts thousands of families. It also shapes our country's immigration approach. We'll explore the arguments for and against extending TPS for Haitian migrants. We'll also look at the role of executive discretion. Let's get into it.
The purpose of TPS is right there in its name, temporary. It's not meant to be a permanent path to residency. When a country recovers, its citizens should return home. Haiti has faced many challenges, but we must evaluate if the original conditions for TPS still exist. Keeping TPS indefinitely creates a shadow immigration system. It bypasses Congress and proper legal channels. It also encourages more people to seek entry under similar claims. This puts a strain on our resources. We need to uphold the rule of law. We must ensure that immigration policies are fair and clear for everyone. Executive discretion should not be used to create permanent programs. It should only address true emergencies. The future of temporary protected status for Haitian migrants needs a clear legal end. It's time for Haiti to rebuild. Its citizens should contribute to that effort back home.
Ending TPS for Haitian migrants now would be a huge mistake. Haiti is still struggling with major instability. It faces gang violence, political unrest, and economic hardship. Sending people back would put them in grave danger. Many have built lives here over more than a decade. They have jobs, homes, and families. They pay taxes and contribute to our economy. Removing them would tear families apart. It would also create a humanitarian crisis. We have a moral duty to protect people who cannot safely return home. This isn't about creating a permanent system. It's about recognizing ongoing realities. The current president has a chance to show compassion. Executive discretion allows for flexibility in times of need. We shouldn't ignore the real conditions on the ground in Haiti. We must protect vulnerable people. The future of temporary protected status for Haitian migrants must consider human lives.
Thank you both for those strong opening statements. Nico, you argue that TPS was always temporary. You say it creates a shadow system. Jordan, you highlight the ongoing dangers in Haiti. You also point to the human cost of ending TPS. My first question for both of you is this: how do we balance the legal framework of temporary status with the very real long-term lives people have built here? Where do we draw that line?
That's a fair question, Ada. The line is drawn by the law itself. Congress created TPS with clear criteria. It's for emergencies. It's not for long-term economic development or nation building. When people build lives here, it's under the understanding that their status is temporary. We can't let individual circumstances override the law. That sets a bad precedent. It makes all immigration laws seem optional. We need to encourage legal immigration paths. We need to respect the process. If we keep extending TPS, it becomes de facto permanent residency. That undermines the legal system. It also sends the wrong message globally. It says, come here, stay long enough, and we'll eventually let you stay forever. We must enforce our laws. We must maintain the integrity of our immigration system. That means TPS must end when conditions improve.
Nico, I hear your point about the law. But laws are not always perfect. They need to adapt to changing realities. The conditions in Haiti have not improved enough for safe return. We're not talking about a few months here. We're talking about over a decade of instability. People have established roots. They have U.S.-born children who are citizens. Ripping these families apart would be cruel. It would also harm our economy. These individuals are working. They are contributing to Social Security and Medicare. They are part of our communities. To suddenly remove them creates chaos. It's not about ignoring the law. It's about using executive discretion wisely. It's about recognizing that the spirit of the law, which is to protect, is still very much needed here. We can't just look at the word temporary in a vacuum.
This leads us to our stress test. Nico, you argue that continuing TPS undermines the rule of law. You say it creates a shadow system. But many argue that the current legal immigration system is too rigid and slow. They say it doesn't offer enough pathways for people in genuine need. How do you address the claim that your stance effectively leaves vulnerable people with no viable legal option, forcing them into this shadow system you criticize? Jordan, you emphasize the humanitarian need and the contributions of TPS holders. However, critics argue that your position effectively rewards those who entered under temporary protections by making their stay permanent. How do you respond to the idea that this could encourage more people to seek temporary status, hoping it will become permanent, thereby straining resources and bypassing standard immigration processes?
Ada, that's a tough but fair point. My argument is about upholding the law. It's not about ignoring human need. If our legal immigration system is too rigid, then Congress should fix it. That's the proper way to address it. We shouldn't use TPS as a workaround. That just creates more problems down the line. It's true that some people may find themselves in a tough spot, but that doesn't mean we should abandon the rule of law. We have asylum laws for those facing direct persecution. We have other visa categories. We need to strengthen those systems. We need to make them more efficient. But we cannot let executive discretion become an open-ended solution. That undermines the very structure of our government. It creates uncertainty for everyone. We need clear, consistent policies. We need policies that are passed by elected representatives, not just executive orders.
Ada, I understand the concern about setting a precedent, but we're talking about a unique situation here. Haiti's instability is not typical. It's not about rewarding people. It's about acknowledging a prolonged crisis. People don't choose to live in limbo for over a decade. They do it because they can't go home safely. We're not encouraging future abuse of the system. We're responding to a current, dire reality. The idea that this will open the floodgates isn't supported by evidence. TPS is country-specific. It's granted based on conditions in a home country. It's not a free pass. We can and should have a robust legal immigration system, but we also need flexibility for true emergencies. This isn't about bypassing the system. It's about using the tools we have to protect lives. It's about compassion and practicality. We must protect those who have built lives here.
This stress test reveals a core tension. It's between the letter of the law and the human impact of its application. Nico, you stand firm on legal principles. You want clear, consistent immigration rules. Jordan, you prioritize humanitarian concerns. You want policies to adapt to real-world suffering. Both sides raise valid points about what our immigration system should achieve. It's a difficult balance to strike.
The core issue is predictability and fairness. If we keep extending TPS for Haiti, what message does that send to other nations? What about countries facing similar but perhaps less severe challenges? We risk creating an endless cycle. This cycle bypasses proper immigration debates. It also puts the burden on the executive branch. Our system works best when Congress sets the rules. The current president should respect that. We need to encourage long-term solutions for Haiti. We need to help them rebuild. But that's not the role of TPS. TPS was for immediate disaster relief. It wasn't for permanent resettlement. We must uphold the integrity of our laws. We must ensure that temporary means temporary. Otherwise, the entire framework of our immigration system weakens. We need to prioritize national security and economic stability. We must have clear immigration rules for all.
Nico, I agree that Congress should act, but they haven't. In the meantime, people's lives are at stake. We can't just wait for a perfect legislative solution. We must use the tools we have now. The reality in Haiti is not a normal situation. It's a country in constant crisis. Sending people back would make things worse for them. It would also hurt their home country. Many TPS holders send money back to Haiti. This money supports their families there. It helps the Haitian economy. Ending TPS would cut off this vital lifeline. It's not about a shadow system. It's about a practical, compassionate response to an ongoing humanitarian crisis. Executive discretion exists for a reason. It allows for flexibility when rigid rules fail. We must protect these families. We must recognize their contributions. We must not send them back to danger.
Jordan, while I appreciate the humanitarian concerns, we also need to consider the broader implications of prolonged TPS. Take the example of the initial TPS designation for Salvadorans in 1990. It was due to an earthquake, then extended for civil war. Many are still here, decades later, with no clear path to permanent residency, creating a permanent underclass. This isn't a success story. It's a policy failure that traps individuals in legal limbo and strains social services. We're not just talking about Haiti. We're setting a precedent for how we manage all temporary statuses. If TPS becomes a de facto permanent residency, it incentivizes people to remain in this ambiguous state rather than seeking proper immigration channels or returning home to contribute to their country's recovery. This creates a dependency, not a solution. We need to focus on robust foreign aid and development in Haiti, not on perpetuating a temporary status that was never designed for such long-term application. The system needs integrity.
Nico, your point about Salvadorans highlights a systemic issue, not a flaw in TPS itself. The problem isn't that TPS was extended, it's that Congress failed to provide a legislative solution for people who could not safely return home after decades. Blaming TPS for creating a permanent underclass ignores the reality that these individuals are working, paying taxes, and contributing significantly to our economy and communities. A study by the Center for American Progress, for instance, estimated that ending TPS for just a few countries, including Haiti, could result in a $45.2 billion reduction in U.S. GDP over a decade. These aren't just numbers. These are people who have established lives and are integral to our society. Sending them back to a country in chaos, as Haiti currently is, would not only be inhumane, but also economically self-defeating. We need to recognize the economic contributions and social integration of these individuals and use executive discretion to protect them while Congress works on a comprehensive solution, rather than creating a humanitarian and economic crisis.
This discussion truly highlights the complexity of immigration policy. It shows the deeply personal impact of these decisions. Thank you, Nico and Jordan, for sharing your insights. Your perspectives help us all understand this issue better. You can find more information and resources at tpbridgepod.com. Join us next time for another engaging discussion. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and keep bridging those political divides.